What's going on? Welcome to the Kid and Kam podcast, the most truthful podcast where we talk about every sport, right?
Every sport, NHL, MLB, NFL, NCAA college, everything.
So a lot of big days for a lot of sports here. The NBA finals start tonight. The MLB playoffs started yesterday, and then the NHL crowned a champion recently. So we've got a lot to talk about today on the podcast. What should we hop in first? NHL, MLB?
So we start off with NHL.
All right, let's get started.
You know, the Stars were not the star of the series.
Yeah, they won it all.
Lightning won it. Finally. Oh my goodness, finally.
After years of struggle, I mean, it's good to see the Lightning finally move past, after just constant heartbreaks. You got 2015, they get swept by the Blackhawks. Last year they get swept by the Blue Jackets.
Got swept in the first round.
Mm-hmm. And now here they are, and they're raising the Lord Stanley's in their hands. So now they got a whole off season to, focus on trying to repeat, which is pretty hard in the NHL.
You could really tell that they was fueled the whole playoff. I mean, especially after last season, it was sort of like a Virginia in the NCAA bracket a couple years back, whenever they lost in the first round, and it was the first time it ever happened, and they go on next year to get into the. Did they win it? I think they won it. But Lightning sort of did the same thing. They got swept in the first round. They come back. They played their heart out. You could tell. You could just look at the ice and watch them move. They were playing as hard as they could.
Well, it seems like in Game 5, while they were up 3-1, they seemed like they had their eyes on the trophy a little too much. Obviously the Lightning team is a team that's going to play to the final whistle. But I mean, I could tell. It seemed like their eyes were already on the prize ahead of time, and that led to the Stars winning in overtime. But I think to last night we saw. I think in Game 6 we saw Tampa Bay at their highest point. They scored early and they just didn't let down. We saw just multiple opportunities from them. They limited Dallas. Dallas just looked super sloppy all night. Barely got any shots until they started, forcing shots towards the end of the game. But I think, Dallas just definitely didn't show up the way they needed to in this series.
Yeah, at some point in the third period, it was like 27-12 on the shooting, isn't it? Wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're being outshot all night. I mean, this Lightning defense just ultimate clamps. Something you don't see.
The goaltending was a problem for Dallas. It was a problem for Dallas.
Yeah, I mean that first goal was awful. I mean, you allow a rebound off the glove side. You allow Braden Point to go ahead and get his own offensive rebound, puts it back in, sends it to the back of the net. Easy goal for Braden Point. Yeah,
on Dallas, you're struggling, but on Tampa side, you got Vasilevsky. I think he played the best he's ever played. That you could tell, you could tell he wanted to win. He has a winning spirit. You could tell.
Yeah, eventually this guy's got to get the goalie of the year award. I think sooner or later.
Yeah,
that trophy's got to be in his house.
He's not appreciated as much, bro. Every time Tampa Bay gets brought up, they talk about Kucherov, Hedman, and Stamkos. People need to talk about Vasilevsky more, man. Because
Well, when Stamkos isn't on the ice, I think a lot of people are talking about, how big Vasilevsky is going to have to step up. Obviously not having Stamkos is a hit to that team. You saw he came in and scored instantly. So, I mean, having a guy like Vasilevsky who's been a top, I'll say 3, possibly the best goalie in the league for the past, 3-4 years. I think you really got to. You really got to start to appreciate what this guy brings to the table. Guy's just an absolute monster.
Yeah, and the Lightning, I mean, Stamkos did play a little bit, but, I mean, obviously they didn't really need him to win it, as they won it without him.
Stamkos deals with a lot of injuries, I remember when they played the Penguins in the conference finals, and he came in Game 7. Didn't really help them. They still ended up losing that game to the Penguins, who went on to win the title. But, he's dealt with a lot of injuries recently, and this Lightning team, no matter what, they still continue to win with or without him, and I think that's a good thing. Being able to play that well without your captain, it also could say a lot of things. And Tampa Bay is going to have a big offseason coming up here, so
yeah, that just shows you how good this Tampa team actually was. With playing without your captain this well in the Stanley Cup final, that just shows
all 3 lines are loaded. With this team. You got talent on the first line, talent on the second line, talent on the third line, talent defensemen. See what they just did to Dallas. And, I mean, they completely, literally neutralized Tyler Seguin. He had probably one of the quietest playoff series I've ever seen from Tyler Seguin. So I look at that as a good job by Tampa Bay. And I think that's something that really snuck towards them being as dominant as they were was getting Tyler Seguin shut down a bit.
Yeah, and moving on to what you were just saying, Lightning have a big offseason coming up. Let's talk about the next season. Let's give a little preview for it. We're going to give 2 dark horses who we think could make the finals. Okay. You can give your first team. I'll let you go first.
Well, I'm going to be looking at a team who just made the conference finals. I think next season they could be the cream of the crop. I'm going to be looking at the New York Islanders. I mean, you got this team. They've been struggling recently, and it seems like last couple years they've really formatted and changed their team around. You know, hiring the Capitals' former coach, and he came in and just turned this team into a winning atmosphere. I'm really liking what I see from the Islanders, but the thing is can they keep this team together? I mean, you got Matthew Barzal, their best player, we could argue. He's going to be a free agent this upcoming season. Can they re-sign him? Can they bring him back? I mean, this guy's going to be the cream of the crop for this team. They definitely need him if they're going to be making a push for them. They've got there's some rumors of them trading Josh Bailey, and a lot of people have been revisiting that Andrew Ladd and Zach Parise trade. But you really got to bring some guys in who can really give them the edge over the following teams next season, because these guys are really going to need it. Some trades, like I said, there's been the rumors of Josh Bailey being given out. Lou Lamoriello has been expressed his feelings of getting rid of some players, and they'll be shopping them this offseason. So we could see the Islanders take a big leap forward starting next season. And my second team, I'm going to go with the Montreal Canadiens. Now, I know the Montreal Canadiens, they were pretty bad. They had an 8-game losing streak earlier in the season, but they get into the playoffs and just completely dominated the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are considered one of the top-tier teams of the league. Just absolutely dominated them. 3-1 series, really completely neutralized the Penguins completely. The Penguins couldn't score. The Penguins just couldn't find any type of rhythm on the power play, on the PK, just absolutely domination. And I think the Canadiens got that 16th pick. They can really use that to move this team forward. I can't wait to see what they do with that pick. And then, I mean, how good is this team? We don't know. I mean, we haven't really seen them dominate in the regular season in a while, but I think next season they're really going to take a huge step forward into making the playoffs.
Yeah, and, my first team, I got the New York Rangers. They was a 79-point team last year. I think Ryan Strome, I think he'll keep improving. And Alex coming in for the tebe because, I mean, he's a no-brainer, first overall pick. I mean, he can score. He can do about just everything. And, him next to Ryan Strome, I feel like that'll be a really good line. And then you got the Philadelphia Flyers as my second team. Nolan Patrick, I feel like he'll have a breakout season after just improving on 1 point after this last season. And then I think Farabee will also improve. And then, at goalie, you got a very young, impressive goalie in Carter Hart. I think he'll continue to get better as well. And you could honestly see him being a top goalie in the future. I mean, he's like, 21, 22 years old?
Yeah, he's an amazing goalie. Potential. Mm-hmm.
And he only had 13 losses this past season. So, I mean, if you really look at it, I feel like those two teams have a real good chance at making the finals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like what you say about the Flyers, too. The Flyers are definitely, I think, a dark horse. I mean, they look really good this season. Made it past the first round. Obviously, didn't make it where they wanted to. But next season, they could add some pieces in here. We could be looking at the Flyers as a very dominant team.
Yeah. And, I mean, the Kings ended well. I mean, I was going to go with them. But, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the Flyers are a better team than the Kings.
The Kings?
I mean, the Kings. I mean, they ended hot, and I feel like if they have a good offseason, they could really turn their franchise around.
They're not even going to be able to. They don't need a great offseason. They need an amazing offseason.
That's why I didn't put them on there. That's why I didn't put them on there.
The best offseason of all time, to be honest. It's going to be a tough team to turn around. After they recent domination, they just completely hit rock bottom. I don't think they know what they got going on there. They definitely need a lot of help. So I don't know about the LA Kings. I think they still need some years to kind of regroup this team. Till then, Islanders, Canadiens, Flyers,
Rangers.
Flyers, Rangers. Rangers with Alex Lafreniere. I'm interested to see how he boosts their team. Because he's obviously the first pick.
He's for sure first pick. If you don't go with him first pick, it's going to be like a KD going second instead of going to Portland. You're looking at that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can actually put it in a different. It's like if LeBron went second overall when he was clearly the best player in the draft. I think that's what we got to look at, because Alex Lafreniere is clearly the best player in this draft. So if you don't pick him first, it's just a huge mistake on the scouting side.
It's huge. Very, very big.
And now moving on to the MLB, we got a big couple weeks ahead of us because it is the MLB playoffs. The cream of the crop of American sports is back. Cameron, what do you got?
It's America's pastime. The NL, we're going to do the seeding real quick. So in the NL, you got the Dodgers at number 1. Number 2, you got the Braves. 3, you got the Cubs. 4, you got the Padres. 5, you got the Cardinals. 6, the Marlins. 7, the Reds. 8, you got the Brewers. And in the AL, you got number 1, the Rays. Number 2, the Athletics. Number 3, the Twins. Number 4, the Indians. Number 5, the Yankees. Number 6, the Astros. Number 7, the White Sox. And number 8, you got the Blue Jays. My bad.
Okay. Well, we got some interesting matchups here in the first round. First one I'm looking at the LA Dodgers and the Milwaukee Brewers. Honestly, in my opinion, I got to go with LA with that one. I think LA has the best roster in the MLB by far, and I think it's a championship or bust for the LA Dodgers. They definitely got to be able to find a way to pull this out.
If they bust, you're 100% looking for a new manager. I feel like, you got too much talent on that roster to be losing.
I mean, they already had a dominant roster,
so
but then you had a guy like. Yeah, I mean, they already had a dominant roster, but then you add a guy like Mookie Betts to the mix, and it just starts to get, dominant. So I think the LA Dodgers, they got great pitching, they got great batters, they are just good all around. I think this is their year for a championship. They have no choice but to win it. With San Diego, St. Louis, what do you got for me?
This is, the 4 and 5 game and the 3. I feel like the 4 and 5 game is the hardest to pick, but I feel like this one. I feel like you got to take the Padres,
I feel like the Padres have a slight edge over it. But I do agree with you. Those 4 and 5 games, because teams usually match up
very well.
Yep. Yeah, those teams, I agree with what you said about that 4 and 5 seed. Those teams typically do match up because it's hard to pick because they match up so evenly. So you never know what you're going to get out of those games. But yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think San Diego has hotter bats, and I think San Diego finds a way to pull this out.
100%.
Cubs, the Marlins. Marlins back in the playoffs for the first time in a long time. Are they rusty?
I gotta go Cubs, man.
Does the lack of experience hurt them?
Bro, they have to be. I gotta pick the Cubs. Last year, you go from the Marlins. The Marlins were like one of the worst teams last year, and then now they're in the playoffs because I think the playoffs extended this year, like it's expanded. So. Yeah. They barely sneaked in with the 6th seed. I mean, you don't really say they barely sneaked in, but they did barely get in there.
They're in here over the defending champs and the Phillies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're doing something right. Can they get over the Cubs, though? I think the Cubs beat them out with experience. I think the Cubs beat them out with knowledge. I think the Marlins, who 100%. Haven't made the playoffs in a long time, I think they got some stomach jitters. I'm picking the Cubs to win that one pretty easily.
Yeah, they'll probably crack under pressure.
Yeah, probably. And then we got Atlanta, Cincinnati. This one's going to be a tough one. You never know what you're going to get from Atlanta in the playoffs. The regular season, they play dominant, then they get the playoffs, and they just start laying eggs. Do I think they get over those jitters this year? I'm going to say no. I'm picking Cincinnati.
Yeah, you got to go Reds. I mean, even though I just said the 4 and 5 seeds are probably the hardest to pick, this is a very hard game to pick because you got the Braves. They got very, very hot bats. But the pitching, I mean, you can't say they don't have pitching because they have it. It's just it's all injured. So, you're kind of iffy on it because, I mean, they do got a solid ace right now in Max Fried. I mean, I guess you could call them their ace. I mean, who even knows who their ace is anymore with all these injuries?
Yeah, and they still got a solid.
Max Fried, he's your best pitcher.
Yeah, they still got a solid group of guys who can come in and pitch lights out. About 3, 4 of those guys. They got a good closer. Reliefing is where they struggle a lot. You bring those relief pitchers in, and everything just starts to go downhill. In my opinion,
I think I'm gonna go with the Braves though. I don't know. Even though I probably just said I went with the Reds, but I think I'm gonna go with the Braves. I feel like they could. I feel like look at it at a bigger picture. I think the Braves would just. I feel like it would be a very offensive series, and I feel like the Braves could outscore them.
Yeah, well, their pitching is going to need to step up huge, and those bats are going to need to be as hot as they were towards the middle of the season. They got no time to be going cold. Yeah, I know Acuña is dealing with an injury, possibly one of their top second best player on the team, and then you got MV Free, who's going to be playing. Hopefully he can keep his bat hot, and then you got Zunia batting cleanup. You know, they're going to need these guys just ready to go at all times if they want to win the series.
They're going to need them on their game this year.
Mm-hmm. It's not that hard of a series. I just, the Braves have problems in the playoffs, and hopefully they can get through it. So I'm still going to go Cincinnati, though, sadly.
Okay.
All right, so now switching over to the American League. We got Tampa Bay and Toronto. Honestly, in my opinion, I think Tampa Bay is the best team in the American League. But I think if the Yankees can get healthy enough if they can get past Cleveland and they face each other in the second round, I think if the Yankees can get healthy, the Yankees can walk out with a W there. But Tampa, Toronto, I'm picking Tampa. I think Tampa wins this one pretty easily. Speaking of Tampa,
I feel like this is a no-doubter.
Mm-hmm. They're coming off that NHL win too, so those guys are gonna have some. They got a little boost.
The city's hot right now.
City's hot right now. They're trying to keep it hot, so I'm picking Tampa to win that one pretty easily. They're moving on to the second round.
I feel like that's a no-doubter. I think you got to go Tampa. They're pitching. Mm-hmm. I mean, they had a couple years back, Blake Snell was talked about for a Cy Young award. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you got a Cy Young potential winner a couple years ago. If he can bring that magic back for the playoffs, I feel like you got a no-doubter to at least make – I don't know about the World Series because I feel like I have another team picked for the World Series, but we can go on to the next matchup.
Well, next matchup, we got Cleveland and New York. I mean, Cleveland, could they pull off an upset with the injury-prone New York Yankees? What do you – in my opinion, I think the Yankees can still do enough just to get past. They're facing Tampa Bay in the second round, in my opinion.
I feel like if they can get, because this is kind of a hard one. I mean, if you got a fully healthy Yankees, I mean, it's Yankees all the way. They'll probably be the 1 seed. Mm-hmm. But they got injuries. They're always riddled with injuries. I'm gonna pick Cleveland. I'm gonna take Cleveland.
Cleveland versus Tampa.
I don't know. I just feel it. It's a gut feeling.
Gut feeling.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a gut feeling.
I mean, Cleveland's a pretty good team. They come in here as the. They come in here. I think a lot of people are expecting them. They can do it. I mean, they've clearly shown that they can be better than the Yankees in the regular season. But then the Yankees are still the overdogs. So Cleveland's going to have to get together and pull it out. I think they can pull it out. But ultimately, I think the Yankees are going to do just enough to get to the second round.
Because think it's going to go down to the last game?
Could go to the last game. So, I mean, that'd be interesting. Keep my eye on that one. So we got the Minnesota Twins going against the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros trying to bounce back off of that cheating scandal. How far do you expect them to move in the
scandal,
playoffs?
And they were completely cold after the cheating scandal got out. I mean, you had their bats. They're batting horrible at the start of the season.
Yep. And, I think the Twins are going to come into the series.
My pick
with that mindset, like, hey, let's get these guys out of here, man. These guys got cheat to win. Let's just get them out of here. I think the Twins can pull it off too. I think the Astros are the underdogs in this one, but I just gotta pick the Twins.
It's gonna sound crazy. It's gonna sound really crazy, but this is my World Series pick right here. This is the team I'm expecting to face the Dodgers. It's gonna be the Minnesota Twins. I feel like they can go to the World Series. I feel like this is their year to go to the World Series. They have an amazing team.
I mean, they got a lot of teams they gotta get past. I mean, I think the AL is stronger. I mean, when you think of team-wise, I think the AL is stronger. I mean, obviously, I think the Dodgers are the best team in the World Series or in the World Series in the playoffs. But I think the AL has strength-wise. I think the AL has strength.
Strength-wise, I feel like it's the NL. But depth-wise, I think it's the AL. Because, you got those top 4 teams for the NL are really good. But, like, AL, you could be, like, you got their top 7. They're good. Like, they're above good.
I mean, well, I think really the AL has strength and depth, but that's me. That's me because I'm looking at 4 teams that could possibly go to the World Series on the AL, while on the NL I'm seeing I'm seeing possibly 2 teams.
You could. But the NL. The teams I would pick. The strongest teams in the NL are obviously the top 4 seeds: LA, Braves, Cubs, Padres. And then on the AL, you got Tampa Bay, who's really good. You got the Athletics, who are really good. You got the Twins, who are, I think, is the best team in the AL. They're the 3 seed. So I feel like that's where the depth comes in. Your best team could be the 3 seed. But you also got teams like Cleveland and the White Sox and the Yankees. I probably wouldn't say the Astros, but like all those teams, I mean, I could see them making a deep postseason run. I don't see them all making the World Series. But a deep playoff run wouldn't surprise me from all these teams.
A deep playoff run that I'm expecting is possibly the Athletics, and they're going to be playing the White Sox in the first round. Ultimately, I think the Athletics walk out of here pretty easily. They're getting past the White Sox. They're facing the Minnesota Twins in the second round, in my opinion. That's how I feel about it on that.
Yeah, I think the Athletics will walk out of this one. You know, they don't have a lot of experience in the playoffs as much as some of these other teams, but I mean, so does the White Sox. They don't have a lot of experience in the playoffs, and I feel like you just got to pick the better team here, and I feel like the Athletics are the better team.
Big day for the NBA today as the NBA Finals get underway. Game 1 tonight at 9 o'clock. We're here with Jordan Johnson. Jordan, how you feeling?
I'm not feeling good, man. Here's why. I think that there's a chance that LeBron messes this up. I've said this multiple times. If there is any year for LeBron to win the playoffs, this is his last year. But he's going up against somebody that's played against LeBron in the finals. Well, not the finals, in the playoffs before and almost beaten him, and that's Jimmy Butler. This could go to Game 7. I think it's going to go to Game 7. I think Lakers are probably going to take Game 1, but I think in order for Heat to have a chance, they need to win at least 2 in a row.
Mm-hmm. Being this, I
don't see this happening, bro. I think it's Lakers in 6. I do trust the Heat. I think they're a great team. I think they're very underrated. I think they're very underappreciated. I feel like they've proved a lot of people wrong. Hero's obviously balled out. He's been a walking bucket for him. Duncan Robinson, he hits about every shot he takes. Miami Heat, they took out the best Eastern Conference team in the Bucks. Then they took out the Boston Celtics, who are the most matched up for the Lakers. So, I mean, if you can get Bam to shut down Anthony Davis, I could see it going to Game 7, but I don't see Bam shutting down Anthony Davis. So I think this is going to be Lakers in 6. I think this is a very easy choice.
Yeah, I think in order to defeat the Lakers, you definitely have to take out either LeBron or Anthony Davis. And to be honest, I think the easier option to neutralize would possibly be LeBron.
Yeah.
How are you going to take out LeBron?
I mean,
right now LeBron's playing all around basketball. He's not playing like scoring LeBron. He's playing. Mm-hmm. He's trying to be that all around guy on the floor. So I think in order to stop LeBron, you've got to stop his ability to pass. You got to stop his ability to rebound. You're not going to neutralize LeBron as a scorer. That's just not going to happen. But if you can stop him from spreading the ball around, you may be able to get the advantage over the Lakers. But I don't think you can stop Anthony Davis. I think he's just now he's the hottest player in the league.
I feel like the Heat have a chance of stopping LeBron from being that all-around player because, they got the Heat's coach, Eric Spoelstra, used to coach LeBron. So, I mean, they know how LeBron plays. They know what he likes to do. I mean, then again, that was 2014, 2013 and all that. But, I mean, at the end of the day, he's coached LeBron before. He knows his likenesses. He knows his weaknesses. I mean, that could have changed here in the future. But, I feel like Eric Spoelstra, if anyone can do it, can neutralize LeBron in these playoffs, I feel like it would have been, Eric Spoelstra as a coach.
I don't think that comes down to Eric at all. Here's why. He did not coach with LeBron. He coached for LeBron. That's the big thing. He coached for LeBron. Every coach knows in the world that if they play with LeBron, you're coaching for LeBron. LeBron James is the head coach on the Lakers. I don't care what anybody says. If you're going to stop somebody on the Lakers, you need to stop AD because LeBron's not going to stop. LeBron's a king and he's a juggernaut. AD, on the other hand, is still a young phenom. AD has been slipping. If AD doesn't have a good game, the Lakers don't have a good game. That's who you need to stop. LeBron can have a good game.
Can you stop Anthony Davis for 4 games, though? Because that's what it boils down to. Can you stop AD for 4 games?
AD's going to have to stop AD for that to happen. I don't think that it's going to be a Heat thing. I think it's going to be a personal thing to where somebody gets in his head or he gets in his own head and starts choking. That boy AD... People are kind of riding him, bro. I mean, that a lot of people have been riding this man in the playoffs. This man has not been consistent. He's been consistent for what? Against who? Against who? The Rockets? With Tucker on them? They've been consistent with Tucker on them? What happened when you put somebody on them from the Portland Trailblazers? Why was AD struggling as the number one team in the West against the worst team in the West in the playoffs? Why was he struggling? AD, you better not choke, bro, because if you choke, the Lakers lose.
I mean, the Lakers have a 67% chance to win according to BPI. I mean, I feel like that's kind of low.
According to who?
BPI.
Ain't nobody care about BPI and they 67% chance at all. Ain't nobody care about that. We're going based off of the fact that we are stuck in a bubble. You heard Paul George, RIP him, but you heard Paul George. That man is in a whole different zone, and so was AD. Let's not forget about those great, amazing 8 points when the playoffs first started.
Playoff P is built.
I mean, you said that AD struggled. You said AD struggled against the Trailblazers. If AD struggled against the Trailblazers, that's scary considering they still won that series 4-1.
You're right. You are not lying.
I feel like Jordan's speaking truth though. Whereas in AD, if anyone can stop AD in this series, it's AD. I mean, he has been inconsistent. Mm-hmm. I mean, he has those games where he's scoring 20 to 30. And, everybody's like, oh, AD's balling now. And then the next game, he'll go out and drop like 13 or 14.
I think a lot of people are saying they're like, okay, well, a lot of these Lakers players haven't played in the finals before. But, I mean, I look at it as if these guys aren't going to be nervous because they've got someone on their team who's won 3 NBA finals. And that guy's LeBron. Yeah. I think LeBron can keep these guys zoned in. I think the Lakers can win this series pretty easily. Unless, like you said, if these players, they come out playing sloppy. I mean, the Lakers have some sloppy players on their team. It's really going to depend on how they come out looking in game one. Because the Heat can take the first 2 games. I think the Heat are walking out of this easily.
I just don't think that LeBron is going to mess up. And I think right now LeBron has the biggest chip on his shoulder for not winning that MVP. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Heat as well because they're saying that, Cam said it. Cam said that they beat the best team in the Eastern Conference, and they were the Bucks. The Bucks obviously were not the best team in the Eastern Conference.
Oh yeah, it was Boston. Not. I think. I feel like it was Boston. I feel like they were the most matched up for the Lakers, and they had the most depth all around. Boston honestly beat themselves.
Boston lost because Boston is a young team. Boston has nobody to actually lead them on that team. It is not their time. That team together will not win.
I don't think he's built to lead a franchise like
Gordon Hayward?
I just said, man. I don't think he's built to lead a franchise like Boston. He was leading Utah for a little while.
Boston is not going to win with the team that they have. I'm going to say that right now. It's not happening.
They can make the finals with the team they have.
They can make the finals as many as the times. They're not beating any team with the way that's happening right now in the West. Boston is not winning with that team.
Well, let me give you this question, Jordan. The Lakers, do they make it back to the finals after this year? You got the Nuggets to worry about.
You said to the finals?
Yeah, did the Lakers make it back to the finals after this year?
Like Western Conference Finals or Finals?
Finals.
Yeah, you can say goodbye to LeBron after this year. I personally think that. I think
he's going to retire?
LeBron's last year. No. He's not going to win another one until he retires. No way. Let me show you this. I wish I could show you the face that was on Curry's face when they told him he had the second pick in the NBA draft. The Warriors are coming back.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, that's the thing you got to worry about. I mean, the Warriors. These guys are definitely coming back.
LeBron's on the West, and he's got to beat them. The Warriors, we'll see what happens the offseason with the Rockets. We'll see what happens with defensively with the Nuggets. If Jokic will learn how to play some defense being 7 foot, and you don't know how to guard AD when he does a spin-around jumper, the same spin-around jumper every time. We'll see what happens. But the West has too many juggernauts. LeBron, you're old, and it's not going very far.
I mean, LeBron's old.
For being old,
he's still
you just said that
dominating.
he has you said he has a chip on his shoulder for not winning MVP if he's so old. Do you think he should have won it?
That's this year.
Do you think he should have won MVP this year?
LeBron. Yeah, but I mean, saying that he should win every year is just like saying MJ should win every year, which they both deserve the right to, in my eyes, except for the year that LeBron didn't make the playoffs. LeBron is breaking stats every year, but they're not going to give him the MVP every year. But this year, that was pretty messed up on those finals votes. It wasn't even close, and I'm like, now look at Giannis, his team getting swept, right? Then they get swept. Did they even win one?
It was a gentleman's sweep because they won one game. They call it a gentleman's sweep.
Okay, so I heard swept, right? Giannis got swept. He's broken now. Who knows what's going to happen with that? And LeBron's
Do you think
in the
he's going to
finals.
leave? You think Jordan? You think Giannis is going to leave the Bucks?
Honestly, I think Giannis is out of there. I think we see the same thing in Giannis that we saw in AD when he left too. Frustration with the team, an injury, and then it just so happens to be your free agency. Yeah.
What team you think you go to? I personally think Dallas Mavericks. I feel like it's a no-brainer.
I think Dallas Mavericks is the best team for Giannis, to be honest.
I think
it's the best team for him.
I think the best team for him is the Heat. And
that's not going to happen.
That's just not going to happen. If they have enough cap space, they have the cap space. They have the cap space, but it's not going to happen. Giannis isn't signing with the Heat, bro. They just beat him in the finals. That'd be pulling a KD almost. They just beat him in the finals. Come on, man, that's not happening. I think we've come to realize, man, that KD has he's almost done that thing where nobody wants to ask the question first. Everybody wants to do it, but they won't do it. It's almost like when Chris Paul almost played with Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, but what's his name?
The NBA didn't have
David Stern. David Stern.
I'm telling you, he put what KD was. He raised his hand and he asked his question first. I'm surprised they let this happen. He asked the question first. Now a lot of people are going to start doing that. I'm like, LeBron does it. I don't think Giannis cares anymore about that. See, KD is a little bit emotional, which is why he left the Warriors. But I don't think Giannis is emotional like that. Giannis gave his full, how many years has it been? It's been almost 10 years, right? 7 years? Because he got drafted in about 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 7 years of his heartfelt to he grew with the Bucks, and now it's time to go. But why would you leave? It's almost just as dumb for him to leave and go to another bad team that can't win a championship their first year, because everybody's going to be looking at you that first year. Just like when LeBron flopped against the Mavs. Everybody's looking at you to win that series the first year, especially if you go to a good team. He's got to go to the Heat, man. He knows that it's the best. He knows it's the best team for him.
But if he doesn't go to the Heat,
he's going to the Warriors.
Dallas Mavericks are great, actually.
Dallas Mavericks are a better team than the Heat, honestly.
That's what I'm saying, but I don't think
they are.
I don't think that's a playoff winning team the first year.
The Mavericks?
Yeah.
With Giannis, Luka, and Kristaps?
First year, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it can happen the first year.
If you think this is LeBron's last year on the Lakers, if this is his last year on the Lakers, I can guarantee you that LeBron's probably going to go back to the East. So that frees up a top seed.
I don't think it's LeBron's.
No.
I don't think it's LeBron's last year. I think it's
LA.
LeBron's last year winning the playoffs. That's what I think.
Okay, so then, I mean, same sort of thing. Like you take LeBron out of that picture for finals if you don't think he's winning the playoffs or anything like that. You don't think he's winning the finals or anything like that. You enter in a new top seed. I mean, you got choices from the Nuggets, Dallas, and Clippers.
Now, wait. Just because you're taking LeBron out the finals doesn't mean you're taking LeBron out the picture. LeBron's still a juggernaut. He's still going to make the playoffs. I
understand that, but I mean, you got an easy team at number 2 with Dallas Mavericks. I feel like they're the second best team in the West.
What?
Right next to the Nuggets.
Who?
What?
Say that again.
I feel like if the Dallas Mavericks get Giannis, they will easily be number 1 or number 2 in the West over the Clippers.
I think you're being disrespectful right now. I think you're matching up right now. I think right now you're matching up the playoffs as if the playoffs were the same this year as they will be next year. There's so many teams on the West that you're forgetting about. Number 1 is the Warriors. That's the number 1 team that you're forgetting about.
Where's
You're
their
forgetting
depth?
about Curry and Clay.
Well, I think we need to see how they come back playing. I mean, you're looking at two players who
last
didn't
time
really
I checked,
play last season.
Last time I checked, they have no depth.
You said what?
That is true.
The Warriors have no depth.
The Warriors
if they
have
had
no
depth, they would not be the worst team right now. They would still be in lottery, but they wouldn't be the worst team.
Let me tell you this. Ain't nobody care that they are the worst team right now. If anything, the Warriors like that they're the worst team right now.
Yeah, they get a number. Like they got the number 2 pick.
Number two pick.
And you
the
get
Warriors
James
are like,
Wiseman.
Who let that happen? You know what I mean? They shouldn't have even let that happen. Why would you let the Warriors end up being the worst team? Why would you even allow that to happen? Why would you?
Because they have no depth. I mean, they're trash without Curry, Clay, and whoever the second. Dude, come on, man. They have no depth.
They're trash.
Draymond Green is trash.
They do have Wiggins. Don't forget they have Wiggins.
Here's the thing, though. All those
Wiggins
people that you named.
Nothing.
Here's those things, though. All those people you just named are coming back. So to count them out just
Draymond
like
Green
that,
ain't doing nothing. Draymond Green's not doing nothing.
On,
He's washed up. James Wiseman, we don't even. He hasn't even played a single dribble of basketball in the NBA.
Since
Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, they're good.
James Wiseman was probably one of the most dominant high school players I've seen. Obviously, he didn't play college ball, but I mean, we can't count out what this guy did in high school. I mean, if this guy comes into the NBA playing even a fraction of if he even looks as a fraction of how dominant he did in high school, the Warriors are a threat. But I do want to circle back to what Cameron said about the Mavericks being a top or second best team in the league. I agree.
I don't agree.
If you add Giannis,
You add Giannis.
That's a top 2 team. Giannis to guard the inside with defense. Okay.
That's what this whole situation is about, Jordan.
That's the whole purpose of this question, though.
I'm willing to put this on the line, right? First podcast on.
Mm-hmm.
Warriors are in the top 3 next year. I'll put a bet on it for $100.
Bro, $100 for a top 3 next year.
Top 3 Warriors. When the playoffs start, Warriors are in the top 3.
I think what y'all are forgetting is I agree with that because I think we're forgetting that the Warriors have cap space
this year.
Davis isn't going anywhere, man. Even if they win or lose, Davis is staying.
Davis isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. I mean, the Lakers are the best team in the NBA at this moment. Why leave?
Top 3.
They got money to sign him.
$100, top 3. I'll make that bet with you.
Who, the Warriors?
Warriors, top 3.
I mean, I'm not saying they wouldn't be.
Nope, I'm making it with Cam. Top 3, $100. You said they have no depth. You're really putting down my boy Curry and Clay, just them by themselves. You're right. Draymond isn't that it, but he's still an essential person to the team. Now he can be replaced. I'm not saying he's irreplaceable, but you're counting him out. You're counting them out too soon. You forgot about him, and a lot of people forgot about him. I'll tell you one person that hasn't forgot about them. You know his name is?
Jordan.
LeBron James. LeBron James hasn't forgot about him. You want to know why? LeBron James has got his butt whooped. I'm telling you. This year was a blessing that Clay and Curry got hurt. It was a blessing.
You think the Warriors beating the Lakers in a series of 7 without KD, even if they're fully healthy?
It depends who they get with this second pick, honestly.
No, I'm talking about this season. This season, right? The season that's going on right now. Lakers versus Warriors. Obviously, the Warriors don't have KD. Warriors are fully healthy. Are they beating the Lakers in a series of 7?
This year?
Yes.
Fully healthy. So they have Curry, Clay.
This past year? No. No, not this year. Not this past year. I don't believe it. I don't think it would happen.
Why is that?
I don't think it would happen just because it's something about not having a big man. And they didn't have anybody. Once KD left, it was like you got James
on their final runs. They didn't really have a big man. I mean, I don't think you can
KD
Zaza.
was the big man. He was 7 feet tall.
Okay, but I'm talking about finals runs previous to KD. You got Zaza. You got
Zaza.
Wasn't
Zaza was a big man.
You said what?
Zaza was a big man, and don't forget McGee was on there too.
And they're all booty.
Acting a fool. But it's not even the fact of you're thinking like the big man has to be there to be like a Shaquille O'Neal. The big man doesn't have to be there to be like a Shaquille O'Neal. When I'm on the Warriors, if I get a big man, look, if you can score, cool. I'm gonna toss it up to you here and there. All I need you to do, I need you to stay.
You sign one that can just rebound.
Wait. Exactly. If I'm the coach on the Warriors, you know what you need to do? You need to get boards. Boards, back it out. Set a screen so Curry can come around that screen. 3-point. That's all I need you to do. And then when I get another center that's big, I need you to stand in the paint. And when I get LeBron James on the court, I need you to stand in the paint. That's all I need. Notice how all their big men have been about 7 feet tall.
I mean, I think Steve Kerr's changing that offense. You get James Wiseman in there, a guy who can score.
Oh, you got to
James, too. James Wiseman is a huge threat from scoring.
James Wiseman is a huge threat. You're correct, but don't think that they're not going to try to get another big man on that team.
Who would you add?
Who would I add? I mean, I would pick up. It depends about the free agency. It all depends on who can you pick up that's going to take a pay cut. Because you're not getting paid. If I get James Wiseman on the team and Curry and Clay are healthy again, you're not getting paid. Oh, and I got Wiggins to feed. And Draymond, he's going to cry about something. You're not getting paid if you're a big man who goes to the Warriors. You'll get a ring. I got you a ring. I'll promise you a ring. But you're not getting paid. You're not getting paid. But mind the fact that not getting paid is still about $1 to $3 million.
Yeah.
I mean, DeMarcus Cousins went there for cheap. So, I mean, it's possible.
I think it was like 1.5 mil.
Yeah, so it's possible.
And don't forget, KD was taking pay cuts. KD took pay cuts for 2 years.
Mm-hmm. We were having a conversation earlier. You said that the Lakers, you feel like they make the playoffs next year. You said that, right? You said they still make the playoffs. They're still a threat, but they're not finals threats.
Yeah.
Is that AD re-signing or leaving? Because he is a free agent this offseason.
If AD leaves, that is the stupidest thing that I have ever seen. Next to KD leaving the Warriors and going to the Nets.
What if AD leaves and goes to the Heat?
AD's not leaving. There is no what if. AD's not leaving. Why would AD leave and go to? No way, man. You ain't seen that locker room talk between AD and LeBron before AD even got there. There's no way.
They are close.
Next question.
Next question. Okay. Your Houston Rockets. What's their future looking like? They lost Mike D'Antoni. Russell Westbrook's not panning out for them. They don't got big men. They traded their only good big man. What do you do with that roster?
This roster has been broken for about 2 years, and I'll tell you why. First, you got rid of Ariza, okay? And then you picked up a Carmelo Anthony off of Ariza, and you're not even going to start him? Okay, that's broke once because I already lost about 25 to 50% of my defense, right? And then on top of that, once I get rid of Ariza, I'm going to go ahead and throw Chris Paul out the picture too. Why are we throwing Chris Paul out the picture? Because Chris Paul is arguing with our man James Harden. And then once I throw out Chris Paul, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of Clint Capella and bring in Covington and put Tucker back in the paint. The Rockets have been broken. I've just been watching them because of James Harden. As soon as James Harden leaves, I leave. The Rockets are not my team. James Harden is my team. As soon as James Harden leaves, I leave. And if you want to call me, what is it called? Like a backpack or whatever? I'm the backpack or the explorer backpack. Bandwagon. Yeah, bandwagon. I'm a bandwagon off of James Harden. If anybody's got a problem with that, you're a bandwagon off of LeBron James.
I'm not a bandwagon off of LeBron James, though.
A lot of people are, and that's what I'm saying. But if they have a problem with that, think about that.
Why can't
that's
you?
Not bandwagon. To a team? When you follow a player, that's not bandwagon. That's not bandwagon.
If you're a fan of that player since he got drafted, or if the first time you watched anything and that player was the first player that caught your eye, and you're like, I like that player. and you stick with that player until the end of his career, that's not bandwagon. But if this player comes out here, shows all-star numbers, wins MVP, and you're like, oh, I kind of like him, and you follow him for the rest of his career just because he did that, that's bandwagon.
I mean, I still think bandwagon is just liking a team just because everybody else likes them or they get a win. I think you can like somebody no matter what. I mean, in that case, you could call all Kobe fans bandwagon. Kobe fans would literally boo him and then still get that jersey signed. So I'm like, that's not bandwagon. That's just true sportsmanship and being a fan. Now, like liking a team, like me this year with the Rockets, right? Say James Harden goes somewhere else. LBJ wins this year with the Lakers. Then next year, if I were to like the Lakers because they're the most dominant team in the NBA, that's a bandwagon. People are switching it up. But the Rockets, back to your question, the Rockets have been broken. Getting rid of Chris Paul broke it up. It's getting Chris Paul and having Mike D'Antoni still as the coach broke it up.
You think if they kept Chris Paul? You think if they kept Chris Paul, they were making it farther in the finals?
Oh yeah, I think they would have beat. The Warriors in Game 7. What was it last year? Last year, if Chris Paul didn't get injured.
Yeah, if Chris Paul was healthy, I feel like Houston could have won that.
And I'll tell you why. Because Chris Paul doesn't care about what Mike D'Antoni has to say. You want to know why? Because Mike D'Antoni is not a playoff champion coach. Ask Carmelo.
I mean, if he was here,
I think a lot of Houston fans are expecting something big when they brought in Russell Westbrook. But as someone who's watched the Thunder for a long time, after seeing playoff P and Russell Westbrook in the playoffs, I can tell you right now, man, that you watched them get absolutely motorboated by Utah one year, and then the next year they get motorboated by who? The Trailblazers back-to-back year, and 4-1 too, being the upper dogs in that series. I mean, you get rid of a guy like Westbrook, I'm not really disappointed. I mean, and I think the Heat fans saw real fast what type of guy they're getting in Russell Westbrook.
Look, Westbrook, if you hear this, man, I'm a big fan, right? But you're not good for my team at all. Not the way you played this year. Are you kidding me? 2 for 9? That's despicable. You're the one breaking records, quadruple doubles. Where's the quadruple doubles in the playoffs? Somebody please tell me, where are the quadruple doubles in the playoffs? Because I was looking for them, and I'm sure, James Harden was looking for them as well. Great. You put up a couple points. We appreciate that, 4 points, 2 for 9. Great. Great job. But just to let you know, buddy, 2 for 9, right? 9 minus 2 is 7, right? 7 times 2 is 14. Every shot that you miss, we lost by that many points. Should have gave the ball to James Harden. Got your little triple-double at least.
Speaking of that, Game 6 versus the Thunder, late in the game, instead of having the ball in Harden's hands, Westbrook was taking all the shots, and they weren't making. And they ended up losing that game and going to Game 7. He airballed a potential game winner. I think that game right there would have made me fire Mike D'Antoni at that moment, because you get the ball away from possibly, I think, the best scorer in the league in James Harden, and you let Westbrook take the shots in the playoffs. I didn't agree with that at all.
But Mike D'Antoni left on his own.
Fired.
Mike D'Antoni left on his own. Mike said that he didn't want to re-sign, and I think it's the best thing that's happened to the Rockets since he's got there. He said he didn't want to re-sign. They made a whole post. The Rockets made a whole post saying, we sat down and he doesn't want to resign. But I mean, I think it low key was that he got fired. I think it was low key that he got released because they see that he's not going to win with that. Because can we just please just take a flashback to
just last year? I mean, you should have won something. You should have won something with that team.
As soon as, right? Wasn't last year the year that LeBron got hurt? LeBron was in the finals. So we got 1 year where LeBron is in finals, right? First time in almost a decade.
Mm-hmm.
First time LeBron isn't in the
like
finals. Well, the Rockets are basically we'll take the other side and meet the Warriors at the end because we don't have to worry about LBJ. That's coasted on through. When Chris Paul gets hurt, can somebody... Oh, man. I can't even tell you how many threes were shot in that game. How many threes were shot in that game? Also, let's take a look at this, right? Capella is 4 for 5 because they're not able to guard him because that means a 7-foot paint beast. 7-foot paint beast, 4 for 5. Why are we still shooting threes? Why are we still shooting threes and not just dishing in it? I'll tell you why. Chris Paul is hurt and Mike D'Antoni is your coach. Because you live or die by the three. And that's exactly what they did. They died.
Hear me out. This offseason, the Rockets, if they can bring in a free agent, what can they do this offseason to improve their team?
I don't know. I'm trying to get James Harden off the Rockets so we can go some other place and win a championship. I don't think the Rockets can come back. The Rockets have screwed up their team, man. The back office is just disappointing. This is almost just as disappointing as Jordan when that general manager got rid of their team and got rid of the coach. Except that coach was great. I'm like, it started with Ariza, man. Not re-signing Ariza. I get it. You know, Ariza is expensive. He doesn't want to take a pay cut. That's an understandable cut. But then letting Chris Paul go, I would have done everything I could to keep a point guard, a true point guard that is not going to score. People talk about Russell Westbrook being on the team is great. Russell Westbrook, just for anybody that would like to know, is not a true point guard. His position is a point guard, but personally, the way that he plays, he is a shooting guard. A true point guard is Chris Paul. That is a true point guard. As soon as you let him go, you let some little entertainer come in, and an entertainer messed up everything. I said this when this happened. Russell Westbrook isn't going to do anything. You know, they've been playing together for a while now. Okay. What did that do? Exactly nothing. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. It didn't do anything. And then what happened when he got back to the Rockets? Nothing.
Speaking
so it starts moving towards the end of the segment. Let's go back to the NBA Finals Game 1. Let's make some picks. Miami, Lakers. Cameron, what do you got?
I'm taking Lakers. I feel like Miami's going to do the Nuggets strategy, try to figure this team out. They've never faced a team like this on the Eastern side, so I feel like they're going to take a quick little breath in the first game, try to figure out what's happening with this team, and I feel like they'll come out strong in the second game. But the first game, I'm going to pick Lakers.
Jordan?
First game, man, I think that the Lakers have lost a lot of first games. So I got to give this one to the Heat. I give the first one to the Heat.
I'm going to agree with Jordan. I'm going to go Miami Heat Game 1. I think Miami's coming into this game rolling. They've dominated the whole playoffs. I mean, I think these two teams right here have been the most dominant teams in the playoffs. I'm taking Heat, close win. They get Game 1 over the Lakers. But that Game 2 is going to be a vital one. I think Heat need to win the first 2 games to win this series.
I agree. Mm-hmm. And I think if they don't, they got a lot more fighting to do, because as soon as LeBron James gets back on his roll, the thing is, LeBron James is always on a tightrope, right? Once you get him off balance, you got to keep him off balance. That's how the Warriors beat him. That's how you get the greatest players to slip up. You got to keep them off balance.
I mean, the Warriors also have a way better roster.
It's true. But as soon as that man gets back on balance, because he came back 3-1, as soon as that man gets back on balance, it's game time. It's game time for everybody.
You know, I guess. Like, I mean, I don't know, but I don't know if it could be that easy to derail LeBron. But I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I just don't know if the one person you have to match up against LeBron on the Heat is Butler, and I don't think he's big enough to defend him. Whereas
Butler's already defended him.
You said what?
Butler's already defended him.
Butler has defense. Butler has good defense.
When Butler wasn't even a good player, Butler was playing good defense against him. But don't forget, Nate Robinson got injured. and then that game got messed up.
If somehow Butler stops LeBron, I feel like he's gotten bigger since then. Since Jimmy's time defending him whenever Nate Robinson got hurt and all that. I feel like LeBron's gotten bigger since then. He's gotten more.
LeBron's lost weight, brother. LeBron's actually got smaller.
He's gotten swole.
But he's got smaller because he's had to.
But he's too powerful to. I mean, like if you're getting a full head of steam like LeBron's been doing these last couple of years, well, he'll just take that full head of steam and just drive straight to the basket. Or if he hits that little, I don't even know what you can call it, but he hits that little sidestep 3-pointer. Yeah, I mean that move right there seems unstoppable. But I mean, if Jimmy Butler can stop that in his driving to the basket, I feel like you can knock LeBron off balance. But at that point, I feel like that's where you go into where LeBron is an all-around player at this point. Like he's trying to pass the ball around. He's trying to be a leader for this team, more of just a scorer and feeling like he has to carry the team on his back. So I feel like at that point,
we'll have to see because it's chip on the shoulder versus chip on the shoulder. Because Jimmy Butler's got the chip on the shoulder, whereas nobody thinks that he can win. And he's got Tyler Hero, who a lot of people have forgot about. And then LeBron James got the chip on the shoulder from, I'm going to show you who the real MVP is and the greatest player in the world.
A lot of people talk about Tyler Hero, but I think a lot of people are forgetting about Duncan Robinson. This guy's the highest percentage three-point shooter in the league this season. And, I mean, just look at Game 6 against the Boston Celtics. The guy was just hitting every shot. If you leave this guy open for even half a second, he's making a three. I think what the Heat got to do is they have to outscore the Lakers. They got to find a way, even if they can't stop Anthony Davis and LeBron, you have to outscore the Lakers. You know, you got to get them off to a slow start. The Heat have to take off. That's the only way they win these games.
I feel like the Heat players, some of them, except for like obviously Jimmy Butler's that leader. I feel like all those Heat players at this point, they've accepted their roles as role players. Duncan Robinson, he knows that if he's covered and they need a 3-pointer, he's going to call a quick screen, step to the side of it, and he's basically open for half a second, like you said, and he's going to drain it. I mean, Tyler Hero knows what he has to do. They know that he likes to have the ball in his hands. They'll feed him. He'll, drive, dish, or drive and score. Bam accepted his role. He knows he's a big man that can get the layups and dunks, but he knows he's there for boards as well. And, Jimmy Butler, he knows he's that leader. He knows that this is what that team needs for him to lead. And, all these Heat players accepted their role. And if they can play these roles, I feel like they'll have a better chance of winning the finals.
Yeah.
So it's also going to come down to the coaching because let's just be real here. Eric is a better coach than Frank Vogel, in my opinion.
Yes, 100%.
So I think it's going to come down to Eric. It's going to come down to the role players of the Heat. Like I said, they got to find a way to outscore the Lakers. They've got to get off fast. If the Lakers get off to a fast start, the Heat can't bounce back from it. I don't think so. Like I said, I think the Heat need to win Game 1 and Game 2. It's possible, in my opinion. The Heat have shocked me this playoffs. Even though I thought they'd do some damage here, the Heat have still shocked me. And I think they'll continue to shock me. So I think the Heat win Game 1, and that's just an understatement. They need to win Game 2 as well. I think that's how you beat the Lakers.
So y'all two picked Heat and I picked Lakers?
Mm-hmm. Yep. No. Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yep. Well, Game 1 tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern Time on ABC.
All right, see you guys.
Okay, and this past weekend in college football was not pretty for the top 25, especially for Oklahoma, who blew a lead against Kansas State. Spencer Rattler, playing how no one expected him. I mean, he played good except for those 3 interceptions. I mean, he went at 30 for 41, 387, 4 touchdowns. But he had 3 interceptions. I mean, that's...
I still think Spencer Rattler could be an upgrade from Jalen Hurts, but he definitely didn't showcase that big of an upgrade. I mean, he had a great game. He just couldn't get over those bad interceptions, especially towards the end of the game when they lost the game in his honor. Bad throw, off target, man was wide open. He overthrows it, guy gets a pick, wins the game. 3 interceptions, though. I think he really needs to clean that up. 30 for 41. It's not bad. 70 QBR. He could definitely improve that. He was outplayed by the guy on the other side who had 18 for 25, 334 yards, 1 touchdown, 83.2 QBR. Definitely think Oklahoma definitely hasn't fixed the defense the way they should have been attempting to do ever since that loss to Georgia. It's kind of getting sad at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the Big 12 don't have defense, really. I mean, to be fair, for the Big 12, this is kind of a low-scoring game, which, leads into our next game, which wasn't low-scoring for one side, which was Mississippi State, put up 44 on LSU. KJ Costello, I mean, he proved himself at Stanford. I feel like he was a pretty good quarterback in my eyes in Stanford. And, he moved to Mississippi State. I don't know what Mike Leach said to him to make him want to go to Mississippi State of all schools after going to Stanford. But, I mean, they're proving that.
Well, I think Nicky said, "Hey, my name is Mike Leach." I mean, that's pretty much, I feel like, all you'd have to say. I mean, Mike Leach, definitely, this guy's turned nobodies into top quarterback threats. I mean, you just see what he did with Anthony Gordon last season, and then even the years before. Other quarterbacks he's worked with, just 5,000 passing yards like it's nothing. The thing he can do for wide receivers, getting them more yards and more touches. Now, if I'm a running back, I don't know how happy I am about it, but if I'm a quarterback, I'd love to play for Mike Leach, and that's exactly where I'm going because I know he can turn me around the way that I'd like to be turned around. 36 for 60, 623 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, guy played phenomenal. He definitely outplayed Mike Brennan, who a lot of people were expecting to be Joe Burrow 2.0, but looking at his stats, that was not the truth at all.
Yeah, doesn't look like it. We're gonna move on to our next game, which is I don't know if it's a shocker for the fact that Tennessee was so highly thought of to only win by 4 against South Carolina. But it wasn't a shocker to me personally because I didn't really view Tennessee at that level yet. Like I thought they were, they're on the right track. Personally for me, I know they're on the right track. They gotta, their school is in good hands with Jeremy Pruitt. But I mean, he doesn't have the team yet. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't have the team that he wants yet.
Yeah, I mean, they got one of the top recruiting classes in the nation right now, but I think when those guys get there, Tennessee could actually be some of danger. But I mean, at the point right now, this is the same Tennessee team with a new coach who can actually use them better than the past coach was doing. I mean, Garantano, 19 for 31, 259 yards. He had a pretty rough game against the South Carolina defense. But I mean, South Carolina's proven they can do some stuff. I mean, you saw what they did to Georgia last year. So I mean, ranked teams should be really afraid of what South Carolina could pull out of their bag. Especially South Carolina going with a new quarterback. They go with Hill instead of Helinski, who was their quarterback pretty much last season.
Didn't understand that one.
I didn't understand it at all either. I mean, maybe, I don't know. This guy Hill really showcased how big of a threat he could be in training camp and warm-ups because he definitely didn't showcase it on the field today. 25 for 39, 290 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 51 quarterback rating. Definitely got to improve his play. Yeah. I mean, I like what I saw from Helinski last year. I did not like what I saw from Hill in this first game. This could have definitely been a win for South Carolina. They definitely got to clean up some of these mistakes they made.
Yeah, and the last game of the recap is going to be Miami versus Florida State. Miami, they played well. I think they got a Heisman hopeful. I think a Heisman favorite in my eyes, honestly, and De'Aaron King. He played exceptionally well against them. 29 for 40, 267. 2 touchdowns. He also ran the ball 8 times for 65 yards. So, I mean, personally, he's one of my favorites for the Heisman. Everybody knew he was a good kid, good player out of Houston. Houston, they used to be upset city. They upset Oklahoma. They were a really good team under him. And, they didn't upset Oklahoma under him, but, he was in a good program that, upset a lot of teams. But, I think Miami, they got the right guy for quarterback. And the U, they might be back. It's big Mike.
Yeah, well, I agree with you with saying Miami's back. They finally got them a good quarterback after struggling for so long with, Tate Martell sitting on the bench and him not really showcasing any skill at all. But I think I like what you say about this Miami team. These guys came up with a great defense. They started their season off with a good win against UAB, struggled against Louisville, but they managed to pull it out. And now here they are just absolutely dominating. One of the laughing stocks of the league in Florida State, 52-10, 42-point margin victory. And, Blackman, 16 for 26, 120 yards. Miami looking like they got a pretty nice defense here, or is Florida State just that bad? Who knows? But I have to disagree with your statement on that Heisman favorite. I do not see King as a Heisman favorite. I mean, when you're looking at a Heisman favorite right now, I'm thinking Trask. But, I don't think he's done enough to put his name in a Heisman list right now, especially through 3 games. I mean, dropping numbers like 29 for 40, 267 yards. He's definitely got to improve those numbers if he wants to win a Heisman. Right now, I don't think he has it.
Okay. Next, we're going to preview next week. We got 3:30 Eastern Time. You got Texas A&M versus Bama. Almost a top 10 matchup with Texas A&M being at 13, Alabama being at 2. Players to watch this game. You got Kellen Mond. You got to see if he can bounce back after a horrible last week. You got Jalen Waddle and Mac Jones. See if they can keep that momentum up from the first half of last game. Obviously, because they sat out the second half. But, I mean, it's kind of obvious. Alabama's a 16.5-point favorite for a reason. I feel like Alabama, they just, I mean, it could be 35-0, 42-0 easily, I feel like. I don't know. I may be talking crazy to some people, but I have a feeling it could be like that.
Yeah, well, I like how you mentioned those players to watch. I'm looking at Kellen Mond. I don't think you need to really watch Kellen Mond at all. I mean, this guy's a struggling quarterback. He definitely needs to work on his play a bit. Well, I mean, Week 1 of the season, you could expect him to get better. But, I mean, I just don't like what I've seen from Texas A&M so far in this season. These guys have been struggling early on here. I mean, but the SEC's just started their game, so I would expect that. But, I mean, against Vanderbilt, man, you can't put up quarterback numbers like 17 for 28, 189 yards. It's just not a good showing at all. I mean, you spent most of the game 17-5. They scored early in the third quarter, and they kicked the field goal. I mean, I would expect way better stats against a team like that. Vanderbilt, who is probably the worst team in the SEC East now. Texas A&M just didn't look like the 12th-ranked team out there at all. And I think Alabama's really going to put a whooping on them. Definitely 25+.
25+? Oh, okay. Next game, 7:30 Eastern Time. It's number 18 Oklahoma, unranked Iowa State. Both of them coming off upsets, one in week 1, one last week. Oklahoma lost to Kansas State. They dropped down to 18. Iowa State lost to Louisiana Lafayette, dropped completely out the rankings. Oklahoma's 6.5-point favorite. I feel like Oklahoma would win by a lot more than 6.5. I mean, I feel like their offense is just too good, and that leads me to my next point: the players to watch. I feel like for Iowa State, it's Brock Purdy. Obviously, I mean, he's their only really player that you can really watch on their team. And then for Oklahoma, I feel like the player to watch, or I guess in this case you can say players, is their defense. I mean, after what they just let happen to them, I mean, can their defense bounce back and hold Iowa State? Honestly, they should be able to hold them under 14 points, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, against this Iowa State offense that they have, I mean, I think that's going to be pretty tough for Oklahoma to do. I mean, beating Oklahoma is simple. Can you outscore them? Can Iowa State outscore Oklahoma? I don't think so. I don't think the line is correct. I mean, 6.5 points. I think that's crap, honestly. I'm thinking Oklahoma wins this one by 21+.
Yeah.
That's just in my eyes.
I would say so. Okay, we're going to give you our game of the week. It starts at 7:30 Eastern Time. It's in Athens, Georgia. Georgia-Auburn. I feel like this is the only real game you can put as game of the week. You got
the Deep South's oldest rivalry.
Yeah. Number 4, Georgia.
In November for the and it's the first time it hasn't been played in November, I think it is.
Since like the 19-something. I can't even remember the date or the year. But players to watch, I feel like you got to watch. There's 3 of them. I feel like you got to, I'd say 4. Seth Williams and Bo Nix for Auburn. See if they can keep that connection that they had, I guess you could say. And then I feel like for Georgia, you got to watch the offensive line and their quarterback play. I mean, JT Daniels is cleared to play. So obviously, in my opinion, you roll out with Stetson Bennett. And then if he does good, you obviously keep him in. If not, I mean, you could put JT Daniels in, but I mean, I don't know, because JT Daniels was such a highly rated recruit. He was so high thought of, and then he went to college and, injury plagued him. So I don't really know how he plays. But, I mean, Stetson Bennett had a lot of momentum leaving last game. I don't think he's the answer, but I think he's all Georgia gets right now. Georgia is only a 6.5-point favorite. I can see why. They don't have a high-powered offense, but they have a high-powered defense. So, I mean, honestly, I think I don't know. I feel like it's going to be Georgia by a little bit. I feel like they might cover spread. Might. That's a big might. If they cover spread, it's only going to be by half a point. It's going to be a 7-point win.
Well, I mean, I think if you want to beat Georgia, you got to figure something out. I mean, who's the last team to beat Georgia? That was LSU. And how did LSU beat Georgia? They got past the defense. They kept the offense off the field. Defense was tired. Can Auburn do that? I watched the Auburn-Kentucky game, and one thing I will notice is that Auburn's pass defense has definitely digressed since last season. Kentucky was able to throw the ball. They should have thrown it way more. They tried to run it a little too much. I think that was an error on the coach's side. But when Kentucky chose to throw the ball, they were converting really well. Sucks that they abandoned it so early. But I think Georgia has to get out here and get Stetson Bennett going early. I think Zamir White has to be able to pick up yards on the ground. I'm not sure how the Auburn's rush defense has changed or not. They lost a big guy in Derek Brown last season. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they bounce back on that D-line. But like I said, Georgia's O-line as well, they've lost a lot of guys. These are two different teams than what we saw last year. And you saw Georgia purely dominating last game until pretty much the second half when Auburn started storming back. We really should think the player who's going to decide this game should really be Bo Nix. What I saw from him against Kentucky was pretty much the same thing I saw last season. And I think he's definitely got to work on that. 16 for 27, 233 yards. 3 touchdowns, no picks, made pretty much no errors. He led his team in rushing yards, which is another issue you should probably look forward to. Is does Auburn have a clear-cut running back? But at the same time, you got to think and look at it and say, well, does it matter anyway? Because I mean, who's going to get some rushing yards against this Georgia defense? Mm-hmm. I think Georgia's pass defense and Bo Nix is definitely going to be the big keys to this game.
Okay. Going to move on to some upsets that we have picked up. We each picked one upset. You can go ahead with yours first.
Well, my upset of the week is going to be in the SEC. I'm picking Missouri to upset Tennessee. I just did not like what I really saw against South Carolina. I think Tennessee, they might have jumped the gun on the hype train a little too early. And I think Missouri is going to put some humbling on the Tennessee Volunteers this weekend at 12 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Well, personally, mine's an 8 o'clock game on ABC. Or on ACC, my bad. It's usually on ABC. 8 o'clock Eastern time. Clemson Tigers, Virginia. I feel like if there's one team that could be upset right in this week, it's going to be Clemson. I feel like Virginia is the only team I can see that really would put a big upset on somebody right now in this week. Looking at all the matchups. You got Clemson. Obviously they got T-Law, Travis Etienne. But, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Virginia, I don't know. They just got that, it's just that gut feeling thing, I had the gut feeling whenever Lamar was in Louisville. He started heating up. They played Florida State, and they beat the crap out of them. I called that. I called the Mississippi State last week. Why can't I call another one? It's just like it's money work to me.
I mean, you're 1 for 1.
1 for 1.
1 for 1. I mean, I'll give you that.
I go 2 for 2.
All right.
Because if I go 2-0, I don't know. I might have some money on my hand. I might have to start betting.
Start betting. I mean, you better bet on the over/under. It's 55. Yeah. I think there's going to be 55 points scored in this game. If there's an upset, there's no way there's going to be 55 points scored.
I don't know. I feel like. No, I feel like I'd bet on Virginia to cover their spread. I feel like Clemson will not beat them by 28. Watch them get smacked next week. That is going to be so funny that I'm saying this and they're going to get smacked. But I don't know. I feel like Virginia can.
Virginia?
I feel like Virginia can. No. Well, yeah. I feel like if I'm saying all this and then Virginia gets smacked, I feel like it'd be funny. But I feel like Virginia can cover this.
That's probably going to happen. I'm going to be real with you. I mean, Virginia over Clemson.
Yeah, over Clemson. I'm saying it, bro. I'm saying it. Why? If it happens, I don't want to hear nothing.
That's rough. I mean, we'll see though. I just don't think that's happening at all. That's
your opinion, personally. My opinion is Virginia's gonna upset them.
That's a tough game.
All right, this past weekend in the NFL, Thursday night game, you had the Dolphins and the Jaguars. You had the beard versus mustache. That was the whole little promo for it, I guess you could say. Dolphins handled the Jaguars pretty easily. What do you got to say about it, kid?
Well, I mean, with the 1-2 start, Fitzpatrick's playing a little tough under center right now. You got to wonder how much longer until they put the first round pick Tua Tagovailoa under center.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but let's move on to the Packers Saints. Saints. They look good. But I mean, the Packers are one of the better teams in the NFC, so it's kind of hard to go against them. I mean, there was that one play with Alvin Kamara where he just completely dominated the Packers defense. And
I mean the Packers
tackles.
offense just looked as dominant. Packers offense is just as dominant as ever. I mean Aaron Rodgers, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, quarterback rating of 87. I mean this guy just QBR of 87. This guy just looked fantastic. I mean you got to think even without their top guy and Devontae Adams, they still had these guys stepping up. You got Alan Lazard, 6 catches, 146 yards. These guys definitely got some talent on this team that can step up if one of their guys go down. I'm looking at the Packers right now as possibly one of the top 2 teams in the NFC, possibly the other being the Seahawks.
Yeah, and then next game, you got the Bears and the Falcons. Falcons, everybody knows what happened in this game. Nick Foles, Nick Foles did what Nick Foles does, plays an amazing backup role, And, the Bears scored 20 unanswered points to come back against the Falcons. And, I guess the Falcons are just, they're the Falcons at this point. I mean, they just keep blowing leads. I mean, for the Falcons, I just wonder when Dan Quinn's time is up there. You know what I'm saying? Because, he hasn't – only time he proved himself was that 2017 year. But I feel like that year was really carried by the offense and Kyle Shanahan, which Kyle Shanahan got his due for the 49ers. And he went to the 49ers and blew a lead in the Super Bowl. I mean, you know what I'm saying? He kind of proved that he was a vital part of that team. And when he left, everything started going downhill again.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Falcons, believe it or not, are the first team to blow a 99.9% chance to win the game twice in back-to-back weeks. We saw them do it against the Cowboys last week. And the Falcons definitely need to undergo a rebuild. They need to fix this team inside and out. I mean, honestly, I don't think it's the players. I think it's the coaches. So maybe they need to just bring in a new set of coaches, and they can get this team back on the right track.
Yeah, I think so too. And then next you got the Bills and the Rams. The Bills won by 3. They almost did what the Falcons did, blow a 28-3, I think it was. I think it was a 28-3 lead against the Rams.
It was, yep.
I mean, they managed to keep their lead somehow. I mean, they lost it, but they got it back, I think, with 15 seconds left. Yeah, it was 15 seconds left. Touchdown to Tyler Kroft. For the Rams, I feel like the Rams are. I wouldn't say they're back, but I feel like they're getting a hold of their identity this year.
Yeah, they're definitely back on track. I mean, we saw the Rams take a dip for about 2 years after making the Super Bowl that one time, and now they're back and ready. It seems like at 2-1. I mean, these guys are looking better than ever. But let's talk about the Bills, man. Josh Allen, 24 for 33, 311 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, quarterback rating of 83. I'm really liking what I see from Josh Allen. This guy is the future for the Bills. The Bills got their guy. Got their guy. If any team out of that quarterback draft, that heavy quarterback draft, what team got the best quarterback? Buffalo.
Buffalo got the best quarterback. Okay. Washington and Browns. Browns won by 14. The Browns are 2-1. They're over 500 for the first time since 2014, I think it was. They did their job with Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's obviously their best player. They try to feed Odell sometimes they don't. But, I mean, I feel like the Browns just need to trade him. He is not a franchise wide receiver as everybody thinks he is.
Well, I mean, I feel like he's doing good enough to keep the Browns maybe on the right track. I mean, you can't look at Odell Beckham. At a point, you got to look at Baker Mayfield. 16 for 23, just 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. If Baker Mayfield could start playing a little dominant, I mean, oh my God, you're looking at a Browns team that could go places. I mean, it also helps when you're going against a quarterback like Haskins, the guy who laughed at Daniel Jones on draft day. This guy goes 21 for 37, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, gets sacked 3 times, quarterback rating of 30. So, I mean, the Washington football team definitely needs to go ahead and fix some stuff on their side of the football. But the Cleveland gets a nice win here, and I'm liking what I'm seeing from them so far.
Yeah, the Titans and the Vikings. I think the Titans are one of the better teams in the AFC. They didn't really prove it in this game, whereas their kicker carried them. It's weird to say that, but he had 6 field goals. He even made a 55-yarder with 148 left. I mean, I don't know how you could look at this Titans team. They have an amazing defense, but it doesn't look like it's playing anymore. You got Derrick Henry, who is a top 5 back in the league. You have Dalvin Cook playing better than him in this game. And then you have Ryan Tannehill on the center. You just gave him the huge contract. And I mean, I didn't think he deserved it. A lot of people didn't think he deserved it, but he got it. And I mean, you just gotta. I mean, Mike Vrabel, I think he's an amazing coach. I just think he needs more pieces on the offensive side, and then get things rolling. Obviously, Corey Davis, he hasn't lived up to his hype. I had a lot of hype for him. He hasn't lived up to it, and you're just waiting for AJ Brown. You're waiting on AJ Brown to really develop. I mean, he is a sophomore now, so I mean, you just gotta look at his development and see how far he can develop.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at that Corey Davis situation you just said. Corey Davis has yet to have an actual quarterback. I mean, let's not pretend like Ryan Tannehill didn't have actually probably one of his better career games. I mean, 23 for 37, 321 yards, no touchdowns, but a pick, quarterback rating of 49. I mean, this is one of the better games you're going to get out of Ryan Tannehill. And, I mean, Corey Davis finishes with 5 catches, 69 yards. I think it's an offensive play calling issue going on with the Titans here. But, I mean, I'm looking at the Titans. They're 3-0. They're finding ways to win these games. They got a big game against the Steelers, which has been postponed. But hopefully we'll see that game still. And battle of 2 undefeated. I think only one team's going to come out on top of there.
Well, I think that spot really is it's out of those three. It's out of those 2 teams and another team, which is the next team I'm about to talk about, is Patriots for that last AFC spot that we're going to be talking about later. As in, they They took off the Raiders. They beat them by 16. Burkhead had 3 touchdowns. I mean, the Raiders, they got to fix something, because you can't let a guy like Rex Burkhead have 3 touchdowns, especially when Sony Michel had 117 yards on 9 carries. I mean, you got to look at something for this Raiders team. I mean, they looked so good in the 2 weeks before this last week. And honestly, I thought they had everything turned around. I thought they were going to at least get 8 wins this year. And I don't know anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Raiders so far on the offensive side of the ball. Their offense is looking better than ever. But when you trade away a guy like Khalil Mack on your defensive line, you got to expect for there to be a run game issue within your team. I mean, let's talk about the Raiders. They did a good job containing Cam Newton on the passing side, and possibly the rushing side as well. Cam Newton held for 17 completions, 162 yards, 1 touchdown, and they got an interception. I mean, Vegas has a pretty nice pass defense, but their rush defense obviously is not where it wants to be. You let Sony Michel get 9 carries for 117 yards like he's back at Georgia. Definitely got to work on that if they want to become a legitimate team.
Yeah, and these next 2 games we're really going to breeze by, as the 49ers beat the Giants, of course, 36-9. They're missing a lot of starters, but, I mean, there's not really much to talk about here other than, Nick Mullins. He played good. I mean, he played good for the San Francisco when he came in a couple years back, played really well for them, and then he came back in this game, played really well. Another thing to note is that Daniel Jones led the Giants in rushing. You can't let that happen if you're the Giants.
Mm-mm. And I know earlier we were talking about with the Redskins game, you got Haskins laughing at Daniel Jones. Haskins had a pretty bad game, had a 30 QBR. Daniel Jones had an even worse game and still finished with a higher quarterback rating. I think New York needs to really figure out what's going on with this offense. They need to also figure out what's going on with this defense as well. You can't let a team like the 49ers, who are playing with pretty much without their top 5 players, still dominate you this way. You let Nick Mullins come in and literally just outplay you just mentally. I mean, 25 for 36, 343 yards, a touchdown. An 80 quarterback rating. This is stuff you cannot let happen if you're the 49ers. So you definitely got to work on that. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from the 49ers. They're looking like a team that wants to get back to the Super Bowl. They got some tough teams ahead of them.
Yeah, and the Bengals, Eagles, both tied at 23 this past weekend. Both fall to 0-2-1. Joe Burrow, he's a rookie of the year candidate, 100%. I think he's the best rookie that came out of the class. I mean, he was the number 1 pick. You expect that from number 1 pick. But, I mean, I think truly this year the best rookie was the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow's been looking great, but he has no help on his offense. You're looking at a guy, Joe Mixon, who's expected to be this guy for the Bengals. He just hasn't shown any talent. I mean, 17 carries, 49 yards. This guy definitely has a lot he needs to work on. And then don't even get me started on the Eagles. The Eagles have just played aggressively bad. I mean, Carson Wentz went from an MVP candidate to the bottom tier quarterback in the league. I mean, 29 for 47 to 47 passes, pass attempts. If you're the Eagles, that's not what you want to see. 225 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, quarterback rating of 49. I mean, you get outplayed by the rookie Joe Burrow, in my opinion. They just definitely need to work on it. A good upside, though, is Miles Sanders, 18 carries, 95 yards. That's something to look forward to. But other than that, they got a lot to work on that Philadelphia side of the ball.
Yeah, they have no receivers. And then you move on to the Steelers and Texans. Texans fall to 0-3. This is. You don't really expect the Texans to fall off this hard after trading DeAndre Hopkins, but it's looking that way. As Deshaun Watson now has 0 targets except for an aging Randall Cobb. He's never really proven to be a number 1 receiver. I think he did 1 year in a Packers jersey. He did really good as a number 1 receiver, but you can't really target him as another number 1 receiver. And I think they're going to probably realize that. This game he had 4 receptions, 95 yards, but everybody has those games sometimes. James Conner, he had 18 carries, 109 yards, and a touchdown. Your defense obviously isn't looking good, and you have J.J. Watt back. I think you need to start looking at something. Something's a problem there. It might be the head coach. You've had him for a long time, and he can't win.
Yeah, it's definitely the management, and it's definitely the head coach. These guys led 14-3, looked dominant as ever in that first quarter. Second half, held to 0 points. Deshaun Watson had 60 passing yards in the second half, and he just extremely fell off, threw an interception. Big Ben just kept moving the Steelers' offense. Steelers win 28-21.
Next game, you got the Colts and the Jets. What do you expect? Jets lose 0-3. Colts are 2-1. Phillip Rivers, he's playing like Phillip Rivers. Jonathan Taylor actually got some carries in this game, 13 carries, 59 yards. He didn't do great, but he had a touchdown. I feel like that's all. One thing I do want to talk about is the Jets. You got to get Sam Darnold out of there. I feel like he's too good for that offense. He's made some plays this season that's shown his improvement and shown that he's been working in his offseason. And, I feel like you just got to get him out of there. I feel like he's too talented to be in New York.
Yeah, dominant showing by the Colts. Just need to go back to the drawing board again. You trade all of your pieces. You got, Le'Veon Bell not playing. It's just a tough season going on for the Jets right now. Definitely need to work on some of that stuff.
You got Carolina and the Chargers. Justin Herbert, he gets his second start of the season. They lose 21-16 to the Panthers when they almost beat the Chiefs. But, Justin Herbert played well, 35 for 49, 330 yards, a touchdown. He didn't really have a rushing game that game. Keenan Allen had 13 catches for 132 yards and a touchdown. But, Carolina, they got three turnovers out of the Chargers. Their kicker kicked 5 field goals for you. So, when you look at the Panthers, I thought they were going to do good. They got Teddy Bridgewater. I feel like the NFC South was one of the most stacked conferences. I feel like any one of those teams could have made the playoffs and nobody would have questioned it. But as we're moving forward in the season, it's not looking that way. I feel like the Saints are obviously the front runner in that conference.
Yeah, well, you were just talking about Justin Herbert. 35 completions, 330 yards. This guy's playing better than he did at Oregon. I'm loving what I'm seeing from him. I know Keenan Allen's loving it too. 13 receptions, 132 yards. They're looking good with Justin Herbert under center. But with the Panthers, they're looking all right. 1 for 2. They get their first one of the season. They avoid the 0-3. They definitely got to figure out what's going on with this offense, because it just seems like year in and year out they just have no idea what's going on. They get Teddy Bridgewater. It doesn't seem like he's going to be the key to that missing what this team needs. And like you said, I'm looking at a couple teams that are better than them, even the Falcons in my opinion.
Yeah, then you move on to the Buccaneers and Broncos. Honestly, I expect the Broncos to play well this season. They fall to 0-3. Buccaneers are 2-1 now. The Buccaneers, they didn't look good in I think it was their first game against the Saints. They did not look good at all. I think they're trying to turn things around right now, and I think they're doing well, I guess you could say, because they've won 2 straight. But the Broncos, I expected a lot from this team. You had Drew Lock, he got injured. You had Noah Fant. You had Cortland Sutton, he got injured too. I don't know what you could do with this Broncos team anymore. They got the running back depth. But, I don't know if you could do anything anymore with your star quarterback going down. I don't even know who they got at quarterback now.
Their quarterback is Jeff Driscoll, the truth. Not really the truth on Sunday, though. 17 for 30, 176 yards. Definitely didn't play good at all. You guys got to look at their run game, too. You need Melvin Gordon to help him out. He didn't help him at all. 8 carries, 26 yards. He definitely hasn't been the same since he decided to sit out last season. And then you need one of these rookie wide receivers to break out real soon. Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler, one of you guys got to step up and be that guy. You also need Noah Fant to be that guy, but it doesn't seem like he is. Tom Brady looking good, looking vintage. 25-38, 297 yards, 3 touchdowns. I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Bucs. We'll see how it goes throughout the season.
And we get to an MVP conversation with this one as the Cardinals lose to the Lions somehow. But, Kyler Murray's still looking great. DeAndre Hopkins playing great. But somehow Detroit knocks off Arizona. I feel like Arizona was going to obviously move to 3-0. but the Lions obviously had something to say about it as they snap an 11 game losing streak as they beat the Cardinals by 3.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely liking what I see from the Cardinals. I mean, these guys looking like they're doing some good offense, but they did struggle here today. And one team you don't want to lose to is the Detroit Lions, one of the worst teams in the league. I mean, you got Adrian Peterson, 22 carries, 75 yards. Yeah, I mean, his age is catching up with him, but Kyler Murray just really had a bad game in this one. I think Kyler Murray fixes up this game. Cardinals will be 3-0 right now.
Yeah, and here's another MVP candidate, Russell Wilson. His Seahawks take down the Cowboys. Cowboys move to 1-2. Seahawks move to 3-0. I feel like Seahawks are one of the powerhouses in the NFC. He throws 5 touchdowns, 5 more touchdowns as the Seahawks topple Cowboys.
Yeah, well, the Cowboys look really good. That's one thing I'll say. But the Cowboys could really be 0-3 right now. I mean, if we're just talking literally. But I think right now they're going against the best player in the league right now, Russell Wilson. He looked better than ever. I mean, he just continues to look better and better every week. Ezekiel Elliott struggled, 14 carries, 34 yards. They definitely need him going if they want to win. I mean, these guys, Mike McCarthy needs to figure out how to run this offense, get these guys on the right track. I mean, you got CeeDee Lamb, a monster, who I think was the best wide receiver coming out of the draft. Looks pretty decent so far throughout the season, but DJ, Tyler Lockett, these guys are just killing defenses right now, and I think a lot of teams need to figure out how to stop this Seahawks team because right now I think they're the best team in the NFC.
And then you had the Chiefs and the Ravens. Lamar did not look good. He did not look in the MVP shape, but I guess Patrick Mahomes felt as if, he deserves the MVP as he's another MVP candidate. As the Chiefs kind of handled business with the Ravens.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes just looked better than ever. I mean, if we're talking about MVP candidates, I think he comes in at second. I mean, just 385 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions against this Ravens team. A lot of people expecting this to be the AFC Championship matchup. Just not at all, man. Not with the way Lamar played last night. 15 for 28, 97 passing yards. Come on, man. He's definitely still in MVP form. Not really. Carson, I mean, you got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a rookie, 20 carries, 64 yards. Definitely needs to improve on that a little bit. But I like what I saw from him in the game. He came up with some big plays. And, I mean, you don't even need to mention Kansas City's offense. They're doing what they're doing. But, we need to start saying that this defense can also be elite as well. I mean, they really just shut down this Ravens offense from the jump. Got to think one of those touchdowns was a kick return. So, in reality, this game could have been 34-13, even worse than it is right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and next week we're going to point out some just a couple games, 4 games for you to watch. And the first one's going to be the Colts and Bears. Bears 3-0, Colts 2-1. We'll see if we can get Nick Foles on track with the Bears. If he plays like he played last week against the Falcons, which I don't know if he can or not. We're about to see against the Colts. And David Montgomery, let's see if he can get his season back on track against these Colts. I feel like the Colts could run it on them. What do you think?
Well, I mean, if Nick Foles plays like he did when he came in against the Falcons, I think the Bears could actually just moved up a tier. I think the Bears just leveled up. I think the Bears can be a top team in the NFC if they can keep playing like they did when they got Nick Foles in that quarterback. I mean, we know their defense is elite. Can they keep it up? Can their offense be elite? That's what we need to figure out. So we'll see that real soon. All
right, another game to watch is going to be the Bills and Raiders. It's a battle of teams that really turned their franchises around these past couple of years. Bills and Raiders, they were always bottom feeders in the NFL. Buffalo's a 3-point favorite, as they should be, because the Raiders have a good team. I feel like every that draft, they made some questionable picks, but I feel like it's paying off for them. That draft really did pay off for them, and there were a lot of questionable picks, but I mean the Raiders proved us wrong. And the Bills, they got Josh Allen playing like an MVP. Josh Jacobs for the Raiders, he's playing like a top running back in the AFC. And Stephon Diggs obviously proven to be a top target for Josh Allen. I feel like the Bills could take this one easily.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bills here, man. Their offense is just too elite. They also got a good defense, too. I think the Bills can be one of the best teams in the AFC. If anybody can upset the Chiefs in the playoffs, I'm looking at the Bills. 3-0, I mean, Raiders 2-1. Raiders have definitely taken the league by storm. But if they want to put their names on the map, it starts with a win against the Bills this week.
Yeah, this next game is more of an entertaining game to watch. It's not really a competitive game, but the Cardinals and Panthers. I feel like it'd be fun to watch DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray play against this Panthers defense. I feel like the Cardinals will run stuff on them, even though Cardinals are only a 3.5-point favorite. I feel like they could take an easy dub right there.
Yeah, well, the Panthers got some offensive injuries, so I'm going to take the Cardinals to cover the spread on that one. Even though it's 3.5, I think the Cardinals going to win this game by 10+.
Yeah. Last game, before game of the week, we got Monday Night Football, Packers versus Falcons. I feel like the Packers, they're one of the best teams in the NFC. They're a 7.5-point favorite, though, over the Falcons, who've continuously blown leads. I feel like you just got to look at how this Packers defense can bounce back from last week after I don't know how they just played so horrible against the Saints, but still came out with a W. Obviously, I feel like this game probably going to be one of who outscores the other team, and I feel like the Packers can win this one.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at both of these teams, man. The Falcons definitely have the tools to pull off an upset here. I mean, I like the Falcons. Well, I like what the Falcons have offensively and defensively, but obviously it's going to come down to can the Falcons look like a top tier team? I mean, the Falcons in prime time is a team you really don't want to go against unless it's the Super Bowl. But I mean, the Falcons, yeah, I'm really looking at the Falcons. I think they got what it takes. But the Packers, I mean, the Packers are looking like second best team in the NFC, possibly the first. So I'm going to go with the Packers to win that one. Definitely cover and spread on that.
And this is our game of the week right here. It's also our safe bet of the week. It's Kansas City versus Patriots. Obviously Patrick Mahomes. He's Patrick Mahomes. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He looks like he's been paying off for the Chiefs system. I feel like they should have drafted DeAndre Swift. But, I mean, right now it's looking like they made the right choice. You just kind of got to look at how the Patriots can stop their offense. And I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Chiefs can score well more than 7 points, so it's going to be our safe bet of the week, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs coming off that dominant win against the Ravens. I mean, I just don't see a team right now in the AFC that can stop this team. This team's very hot right now, and I don't think they're going to slow down anytime soon. I like the Patriots, but I don't like them to beat the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs covering that spread easily.
They're also playing in Arrowhead Stadium, so I mean, I'm expecting the Chiefs to at least win by 17.
Mm-hmm.
But this is going to move us into that's a loud stadium. This is going to move us into our top 5 power rankings. You might disagree, you might agree. Let us know. But I'll start it off. Of course, you got number 1. You got the Chiefs. You got the Chiefs number 1.
I do. I mean, their offense is just too powerful. They got the defense to back up the talk. Chiefs definitely right now looking like they're going to go back to back.
Okay, and number 2, I feel like this is the easy one. It's an NFC team. It's the Seahawks. You got Russell Wilson playing top of his game right now.
Yeah, at number 2, I got the Seahawks as well. I just don't think anyone right now is going to slow down the Seahawks team. Russell Wilson playing in MVP form. Right now, I think it's him versus Patrick Mahomes. Don't count out Josh Allen either, but I'm really liking these two teams as number 1 and number 2 right now.
At number 3, I got the Packers. Aaron Rodgers, he's playing exceptionally well. Obviously, the defense is holding them back. If their defense can play well, I feel like the Seahawks are tied for second. But right now, obviously, the Seahawks have the upper hand on them.
Yeah, I think I got Packers at number 3 as well. I think they need to really clean up that defense to become elite. But right now, I think the Seahawks have them beat, grabbing Jamal Adams from the New York Jets, and the Seahawks have really cleaned up that defense recently. And I think when it gets to the playoffs, I don't think there's any stopping them. But if anybody can, it's definitely going to be the Packers. But that defense is going to be a huge factor because this Seahawks offense, I don't think you can shut it down. But can the Packers outscore them? We'll see.
Number 4, we got the Bills, or I got the Bills at least. I don't know what you have. The Bills, Josh Allen, like we said, he's playing at MVP level. He finally has a target in Stephon Diggs. I feel like that defense has been very underrated for several years, and I feel like they're going to prove everyone wrong right now and win the AFC East, honestly.
Yeah, number 4, I got the Bills as well. I mean, the Bills right now looking like the second best team in the AFC. I mean, they're 3-0 for a reason. A lot of people might sleep on that, but I mean, a lot of people knew this team was just going to run the AFC. The AFC East this year. They're just looking dominant as ever. I'm really liking what I see from them. They can keep it up. I really think they can. If they can avoid injuries, I mean, this Bills team could head to the Super Bowl. But they got a real tough team in the Chiefs going up there that they're going to have to go against if they want to make it, even the Ravens. But one thing I will say, they need to keep Josh Allen healthy. They need to keep him feeling good. He'll keep playing good.
Yeah. And number 5, this might be controversial. You have well than enough, more than 3-0 teams in this league. But I feel like the New England Patriots are number 5. They've been playing well under Cam Newton. I felt like it was a good signing. I didn't expect him to play this well for them. But, I mean, they've been proving everyone wrong. I feel like Cam, he's finally found his place. I mean, he even said it in I think it was in an interview. He said that this is a business trip for him. So he's just here for a year, and he's going to probably leave after. And I feel like he's going to make this year last for them. I feel like he just wants to win. And I feel like his best chance to win it was in New England, and he's proving everyone wrong right now.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I mean, he's definitely playing on a winning team behind a winning coach. But number 5, I got to go I'm going to the AFC again. I'm going to the AFC North as well. And it's not the Ravens. Fun fact. It is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Pittsburgh Steelers so far through 3 weeks. I mean, they're 3-0. Their offense is still improving, but they're definitely a step up from last year. I mean, if the Steelers had this offense last year, they could have easily went 12-4, made the playoffs easily. But they didn't have that offense. They had, two backup second and third string quarterbacks who didn't look like second or third string quarterbacks, looked like even worse. Their defense is elite. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense is elite. They will carry them. Big Ben will carry them. This Steelers team, they might only lose 3 games this season. Definitely my team coming in at number 5.
Only 3. Okay. That's all you, man. Only 3 games losing. Mm-hmm. That's all you.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know if I believe in that, but that's all you.
All right, so moving on to our players of the week. Me personally, it's been an interesting week of sports, to say the least. A lot of upsets in college football. Stanley Cup Finals just finished. NBA Finals are about to start. And, the NFL, there have been a couple of things. MLB playoffs just started. So it's a pretty interesting time in sports. And that means a lot of players are playing. And personally, I have Andrei Vasilevsky, the goalie from Tampa Bay Lightning. Led his team through the finals and impressive stats. I feel like he deserved the player of the week this week. What do you think?
Yeah, Vasilevsky's finally an NHL champion after years of being on that Lightning team who struggled a lot. He is finally back on top. But for me, I'm going to the NBA, and I'm going to the underdogs. I'm picking Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero has been a very key component for that Heat team over the course of the NBA playoffs. And I think this week specifically, he was playing lights out. I'm picking Tyler Hero.
He's been a walking bucket. He has been a walking bucket.
Yeah, he had, Paul Pierce calling him out. He was like, hey, man, I think I just averaged 20 in the conference finals. I like Tyler Hero.
Yeah. All right, let's go move on to our next segment. We call it Crunch Time. We're going to ask a question from each sport, and you got, isn't it 15 seconds to answer it?
15.
Okay. All right, you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
So you want me to ask you questions first?
Yeah.
Okay, you got a timer pulled up?
I mean, you would be timing it. I gotta ask the questions. You'd be timing it.
Okay. All right, you ready? Okay. For the NBA, what approach do you think Billy Donovan will take on his new Bulls roster?
Well, I think he's got to find a way to utilize his offensive weapons. I mean, this is a Bulls team that's struggled in recent years. They definitely have the tools they need to get back on top. I mean, I think they should have a pretty nice little pick here coming up. I think they can pick a decent player, but Billy Donovan, he's really going to bring the offense out of that team, I think, just like he did with the Thunder. You saw with Chris Paul as their best player.
It's time. Oh, okay. NFL, who do you have as the top 3 on your MVP list right now? And go.
Well, number 1, I'm going to the NFC. I think it's Russell Wilson. Number 2, I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes. Number 3, Josh Allen. 3 players that's playing phenomenal right now. It's really too early to kind of get a list to go, but I think about midseason, you'll have a clear picture of who your MVP is.
Time. Okay, you did that one really good. College football. Does Oklahoma make it to the playoff if they win out? Go.
Yeah, I do. I think they can. I mean, they got some good teams in the Big 12 they could beat that I think could convince the college football playoff community that they are a top 4 team. Do I think they are a top 4 team no matter what they do? No. But I think we'll just see the same result if they make the playoff again. Got a lot of teams that can just really put a hurt on them. And I think that's what we'll see.
MLB, if the Dodgers somehow get knocked off in the playoffs, who do you think could do it? Go.
I think it's got to be the Padres. I think the Padres have some of the some good bats, especially in the NL. I think they're probably one of the teams that can do it, but knocking the Dodgers out, that's going to be a pretty tough task.
Okay. Hockey. Do the Dallas Stars stay on top of the Western Conference next season? Go.
They weren't even on top this season. I mean, 3rd in their division. So, no, I don't think so. I think you got to start looking at all these other teams. I think another team will come out of nowhere and kind of shock people, or it may be even the same. Who knows? You never know what's going to happen with that conference and that side of hockey. But it'll be interesting to see what team takes out the top.
Okay. Well, go ahead with your questions for me.
Ooh, with my questions. Okay. We're going to start off with the MLB first.
Okay.
How you asked me what NL team or what team could beat the Dodgers. I'm asking you, how do they beat the Dodgers?
I think you gotta take over the game offensively. You gotta have your pitchers taking out those bats, and Jock Peterson and Mookie Betts. But I really feel like you gotta outscore them at this point. I feel like their pitchers are just too good, and their defense and their bats are too good. So at this point, you just gotta outscore them.
All right, went a little over there. Moving on next to NCAA football. What does the return of the Big Ten? What does the return of the Big Ten mean for other NCAA teams?
It don't really mean nothing for a lot of them, but I just think Ohio State. And I mean, Minnesota was a big threat, but I think Ohio State will people just gotta watch out for Ohio State and Justin Fields. Really, I think that's it.
All right. Now moving over to the NFL. What did the game on Monday show about the Ravens?
That they can't top the Chiefs. I mean, to get to the Super Bowl, they're probably going to have to beat the Chiefs, and they can't do it yet. They got to build their roster to beat the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm. And for the NBA, can the Warriors win another championship if they add James Wiseman?
I feel like you got to add more depth. I mean, you've seen this season, they don't have Curry, Clay. Obviously, they don't have James Wiseman. They didn't do good at all. And I feel like that's going to be their depth moving on next season. So, if your bench can't play as good as your starters, you can't. I mean, obviously, they're never going to be able to play as good as your starters, but I feel like you can't do nothing if your bench don't play good.
All right. And for the final question, do the Lightning have the tools to repeat?
I think so. Hockey's a very hard sport to win the cup in. I feel like hockey and baseball, they're the two hardest sports to win the championship in. But usually hockey, if you have a really good team, you stay consistent, and I feel like they have a really good team, and I feel like they'll stay consistent, and they'll make it right back to the cup final and win.
All right. And now moving on to our weekly discussion questions for the listeners of the podcast. The first question we have down is, what does Monday's loss tell us about the Ravens season, and what does it show about Lamar's season? That's the first question. And the second question is, what would a loss to the Miami Heat do to LeBron's legacy? Good questions, huh?
Those are hot ones. They get hot. All right, thanks for watching this week's episode of the podcast. This is episode 1. Everything will be linked down in the description. Jordan, he was our guest on the NBA segment. He will be linked in the description as well. Thank you for watching. Of course, come back next week whenever our next episode comes out. Thank you.